Tuesday, the 23rd of January, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma, and today's topics include what's going on with extended playoffs over the last 2 weeks and why are players so chatty on the golf course during the most critical moments. Spain kicked butt last week with Rahm and Sergio notching wins. Guess who will be defending events this week? Tommy Fleetwood is on his way to becoming a star. Tiger makes his 2018 debut. The LPGA season kicks off, and Brooks Koepka has a serious wrist injury. As Prime Sports Golf, brought to you by Pro Golf Weekly, starts now. Transmissions, where was you? Now try to push, try to keep us all down and hope that we will never see the truth around. All right, thanks again for joining us for a great season of golf coverage along with our partners at ProGolfWeekly.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN, and you'll receive our latest opinions, on-demand programming alerts, and that's, of course, to let you know when the shows are available either on our website or you can go to our YouTube or our iTunes pages under Prime Sports Network. So let's get this thing started. I'll introduce, as usual, a pair of top golf analysts to the program. First is a PGAtour.com contributor. You can find his first look reports every Friday prior to every event of the PGA Tour, Jeff Shane. So, Jeff, I hear Curtis Strange is not a fan of chatty Cathy golfers. What's up with that?
That's just the way Curtis Strange was. For those that remember 30 years ago, it is 30 years ago since he won the first of those back-to-back United States Opens, but he used icy cold intimidation as a weapon, as did Raymond Floyd, as did Nick Faldo, as there did a number of golfers in those days. They used that type of third degree as much as they used a wedge. He's mentioned it before, but he tweeted out after, or I guess I should say during, the Career Builder playoff between Jon Rahm and Andrew Landry, they're chatting each other up as they walk from the tee to their balls in the fairway. What's with this? Why is there any talking at all? I don't remember the exact words, and I probably put more words in there than Curtis Strange would, but he's just a staunch believer that if you're trying to kick somebody's tail, you don't try to talk him, make him feel any more comfortable about the situation. Your silence puts pressure on him. Now, of course, if we were to, get Lee Trevino over at the table, and he used to put people off their game by talking too much. So, but a perfect example, the 1988 U.S. Open playoff between Curtis Strange and Nick Faldo at Brookline. Somebody once asked him, well, how many words did you guys exchange during that 18-hole playoff? His response was, well, more than one, less than three.
Yeah, times have changed, and I think times are changing also this year because we've got this trend going on with these extended playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, usually it's good when you get these extended playoffs and you get birdie, 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 par, par, birdie, birdie, but we're getting like, par, 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 birdie, par, over. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun to have all these crazy, additional playoff holes, but it does kind of screw up programming and I don't know, maybe even the fans' overall coverage. But still, I mean, drama's drama, and we've had a lot of drama the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we really have. And in the playoff at Career Builder, that is a tough 18th hole on a very tough course, TP West Stadium course. And so the fact that we had both guys really kind of scrambling to make sure they made par, and they had their birdie opportunities. Jon Rahm missed to the right, and then Andrew Landry on the next hole would miss to the right, and then Jon Rahm would miss to the left, and they had their opportunities, but that's just a really tricky green, and sometimes par is really the norm on those holes. And it was that way at Wailea, at the Sony as well. It was a good, solid par four. What you'd kind of like to see is a closing hole that's going to be replayed, that's a par 5, and you really do have birdie opportunities or even an eagle opportunity to create a little bit more of a wide spectrum as to what could happen on those holes. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When you are in a sudden death playoff, can we please stop repeating the same hole over and over and over and over?
Maybe
we
that
had
hole.
and that could, because that doesn't help anybody. I mean, particularly if one hole favors a player. And I'll go back to the 2008 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines South. That 18th hole, it's a par 5. It was built to be a birdie hole for Tiger Woods in his prime. It was not built to be a birdie hole for Rocco Mediate at the time, or maybe ever. And so the fact that 18 was always the final hole allowed Tiger to come from one shot off the pace on Sunday, and the 18th hole of regulation on Monday, and then going into sudden death, where'd they go? Back to 18. Advantage Tiger Woods. Guess who walked away with the trophy? I've always said, you get a nice rotation, 2 or 3 or even 4 holes. And okay, replay 18. I understand that all the equipment's there, the fans are there, but if they're still tied after 18, go to 10, go to 16, figure out how to work your way back so that 18 is the 4th playoff hole if need be. But don't replay the same hole over and over and over. And it's worse on the LPGA, where it seems like all they do is replay the same 18th hole over and over and over. There was that playoff early last year, might have been in Hawaii, in fact, where they replayed the same hole, what was it, 8 times, 7 times, something like that. And there was another playoff a few years back that Paula Creamer won on the 9th replay of the hole. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it is the only reason they're doing it is just why? Because all the fans are already set up at 18 and they don't want them moving around. Is that where also all of the the production crews are, because everybody else in all the other holes have pretty much called it a day because the holes are now, nobody's operating them, and nor should they. The event is over. Is that why? Is it just a logistics thing?
I think some of it is logistics. Certainly that's why you start at 18, because everybody's already there. But how difficult is it to say, 10th hole camera, or, whichever crew is, next to last coming off,
Mm-hmm.
Be ready for a playoff. Be ready to be that second hole of the playoff. Be ready to be the third hole of the playoff. Don't send everybody home early, just because there's a playoff. I think that, in some cases it doesn't make that much of a difference, but in some cases, a hole plays to a player's advantage or away from a player's advantage, and that's not fair to the player that got himself in the playoff in the first place. That's why they're 18 holes.
All right. Also joining us from ProGolfWeekly.com, a digital magazine that covers pro golf around the globe, lead writer Joel Cook. Joel, we talked last week about Rory's debut. He was pretty short price as far as the odds were concerned, even though he hadn't played particularly well for a while, had some time off. And I think a lot of people, matter of fact, he was the odds-on favorite on Saturday. And then on Sunday he was a 2-to-1 shot to win that event. But it was Tommy Fleetwood who had a tremendous final round in some pretty difficult conditions for that golf course. And boy, was his putting fantastic. And Tommy Fleetwood wins a big event. We know what kind of a season he's come off of. We've seen him play pretty well at WGC events. Is this now going to be Tommy Fleetwood's year to make his mark?
I mean, it sure looks like it's. We didn't get the DJ Rose matchup we were hoping for, but this was still exciting. And Tommy Fleetwood, those back 9, was coming back from, I believe it was 5 down on Ross Fisher. It looks like Fisher might be winning his first tournament since 2014, and Fleetwood just goes crazy down the stretch. He had 6 birdies over his last 9 holes. And was just making some clutch stuff at the end. And I mean, this is his 3rd really strong result in a row. He's also most recently T3. I mean, that was at the Hero, and then 6th the Hong Kong Open. But he's looking very legitimate. He did win the race to Dubai last year. He kind of limped towards the finish line a little bit. I think a lot of people felt maybe he wasn't the best golfer during the year, but he had a lot more starts than the other two that were right on him, Rory McIlroy and Sergio Garcia. What was it, Rory? Oh, sorry, Justin Rose and Sergio Garcia.
Yeah, well, it's still. I mean, he has got the game now. We know he doesn't have maybe some of the game from the great players, but who does he kind of remind you of? Is there a specific, like, if you were to say what kind of, his game, as far as, and I'm talking about the top more notable stars in the game, does he kind of remind you of anybody?
I mean, he's got an all-around pretty good game. I'd probably kind of like Ricky, maybe, as I haven't really thought of that before. And he's someone who can get those birdies and bunches, and it helped him a lot last year. I think he playing in that final round at the U.S. Open. I would definitely expect to see him in back in actually in the WGC events. He did great last year too. At the early ones, I think he had a second place on one of them. He's playing well on every stage. He's definitely going to be someone to look forward to this year.
And then what about
number 12 in the world now?
Number 12. What about Rory? Because look, it was a great event for Rory. There ain't no question about it. But him not winning, though, again, that shouldn't be a surprise because we talked about how difficult it was going to be for him to do that against all these really good players, and we saw that was the case. I mean, if the field wasn't as strong, Rory probably wins. But in that type of a strong field, you've got really good golfers, including Tommy Fleetwood, who is able to come up and perform a little bit better, which should not be a surprise because Tommy's been on his game for a lot longer than Rory has. But still, big week for Rory, and now he's the favorite, the odds-on heavy favorite to win this week.
Oh yeah, I remember we were all saying we were a little uncomfortable with Rory's odds last week, despite his really good pass in the tournament, having finished runner-up 4 times. I was really impressed. No bogeys over the first 2 rounds. Got himself in position, was 7 under on that third one. Kind of lost gas a little bit down the stretch. He while Fleetwood was birdieing everything, McIlroy finished with 7 pars, a bogey, and then birdied the last hole. But I mean, for get T3 after the time he's missed in the year he had. That's very promising, and you see he's got 4-1 odds next week. It still seems a little lofty, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the team win that.
Yeah, matter of fact, he's 4-1, and then the next guy is Sergio. You've got the odds posted at ProGolfWeekly.com. 9-1 for Sergio, coming off a win, and Sergio's had a fantastic week. As I said from the Open, it's not just Jon Rahm winning from Spain, but you have Sergio winning from Spain. And Sergio's coming off a tremendous year, wins the Masters, has time with the to get through all of that. Now that's behind him. The wedding's behind him. The Masters is behind him. Now he can kind of focus once a little bit more on golf. And I mean, defending champ, and he's 9-1 with Rory at 4-1. I mean, come on, Sergio's a great golfer.
And there's been some talk in the news this week. I mean, how much better does that European Ryder Cup team look now? With Rob McIlroy and Sergio. There's a lot. This could be a lot of fun stuff to watch.
Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, Fleetwood.
Jon Rahm.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to mention him. Rahm, Fleetwood, McIlroy, Rose.
So, what did you think, Jeff, about what you saw from Rory? It looks like now he should be ready. It's back to being Rory. I mean, the odds makers believe that. The fans believe it. It's just now a matter of time before he becomes his old superstar self.
We think so. Certainly it was a good, encouraging first performance. And, while everybody this week is kind of on Tiger Woods' watch, how's he going to be in his comeback? Well, we had another comeback last week, and it was pretty darn good. Could Rory McIlroy have won? Yeah, but Tommy Fleetwood went and got that. And with McIlroy, as long as he stays healthy, I think is the question. He's going to have to learn a little bit how to deal with the health issues. How does he make sure that rib doesn't get strained anymore? We talked about the heart irregularity that probably won't be an issue, at least at this point in his career. But does he have to manage it? Well, he might have to. And so, I think that everything is lining up very well, and Rory, I think, can be a really good, have a really good season again.
And again, Rory's 4-1. Garcia won last year 9-1 at the Dubai Desert Classic. Fleetwood and Stenson are next at 10-1. So again, right there, Fleetwood plays tremendous golf in a really good field that included Rory, and he's double the price at 10-1 here. Fitzpatrick continues to play good golf. He's 16-1, and Ross Fisher, who just can't break through and get a win, kind of doing a Paul Casey. At least for this past year, going back to last season. I think he has something like 10 or 11 top 10s or something like that without a win. So he's on one of those frustrating rolls. Martin Keimer's still not his old self. Pat Perez and Keimer are both 40-1. So we're going to see Pat Perez at the Dubai Desert Classic. We're going to see Oosthuizen at the Dubai Desert Classic as well. Anybody else that you have your eye on this week at Dubai, Joel?
I mean, that's the majority of them.
I mean, anyone in particular there that I've even mentioned that you like? Any outside the Sergio and Rory? Who do you like?
I mean, Thomas Pieters was looking really good last week.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, struggled down the stretch there, and Beef Johnson, I was thrilled to finally see get on the board again for one of these things. But yeah, I mean, look, it's another good field. I do like Rory. Again, he's going to have that confidence now, and I mean, I think it's the rankings right now look pretty set. I think
Well, Pieters is a good play. He's 25-1. Again, wasn't able to close the deal.
Rounds together, but and Tyrrell Hatton at 22-1. I mean, he was a little up and down last year, but when he got on, he really got going.
Oh, he's going through a good run now, so he's back to being on his game. Jeff, anyone in particular you like? What about Stenson? He's kind of quietly stalking there at 10-1.
Yeah, he really is, and let's not forget that Henrik Stenson may be more familiar with that tournament than anybody else. Even though Rory McIlroy hasn't finished outside the top 10 in 7 appearances, and Sergio not only is defending champion, but I think he's won before. Stenson is a former champion. He lived in Dubai for a number of years, and so he's very, very comfortable in that tournament, and he's probably right where he wants to be, just off the radar. Let Rory get the spotlight, let Sergio get the spotlight, let Tommy Fleetwood have that spotlight. We'll see who shows up Sunday.
And what do we know, Jeff, about Brooks Koepka? So this just shouldn't be a shock, because we were wondering why he was playing so poorly in his last couple of events, and now we know why.
Yeah, and it explains a lot. It looked very odd that he finished dead last at the Hero World Challenge. We thought, okay, maybe he wasn't really into it. And then he finished dead last, and dead last by some distance at Kapalua, and we thought something's up. Well, yeah, it is. He is resting now a partially torn tendon in his left wrist, and he made the announcement last week and said that he's going to be out. He's been recommended 10 weeks rest, which puts us really at the start of April. So we figure he's going to be out until at least then. He's targeting the Masters. That may be a big ask. We know that it seems like golfers seem to come back from injury, and even when they're following doctor's orders, maybe they need to program an extra week or two to be completely sure that they're ready. But it's really unfortunate because he's a past champion at Phoenix. That's next week. Was going to play Pebble Beach. The Honda is literally a home game for him. He grew up in that Palm Beach area, would have qualified for Mexico. So he had some really good starts ahead of him lined up, getting ready for the Masters. And now, if he's lucky, he'll have one preparation event ahead of Augusta National. And it's just a really tough start of the year for the reigning U.S. Open champ.
Anybody else, by the way, that's dealing with any injuries? By the way, is Bubba okay? I mean, I'm surprised he's not playing this week. Bubba is a former champ at Torrey Pines. He's played well here before. I guess he's okay. I mean, I know he got rid of that crazy golf ball that we talked about last week and didn't necessarily help him too much last week, I guess. I don't know. But no word. I mean, he's just not playing this week?
I think he's just taking a week off. Maybe he doesn't want to play 3 consecutive, but Phoenix is a former home of his. That's where he lived up until about 5 years ago before he moved back to the East Coast. And so he's already, I think, on the commitment list for the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We'll see him there. And he may just be trying to space out his schedule. He's been a little squirrely about it because remember at the end of last year, he had said that it was a lousy year. He was gassed. He was going to take some time off, and we weren't going to see him until January. And then he played a couple of events. And so now we're in the West Coast, and he's playing some events that he didn't usually play. I was surprised to see him go to Palm Springs because he had not played there in a while. It had always been San Diego and Phoenix. And so changing it up, yeah, he's looking for a spark. I really think he's looking for a spark, but has not found it yet.
All right. So as far as this week's event that we are going to handicap, it is the Farmers Insurance Open. Tiger Woods has won this thing 7 times, and he won it also when they were playing here at the U.S. Open. So this is a good opportunity for Tiger to begin 2018. Of course, we saw an impressive showing at the Hero and got everybody really excited. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not. See, I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to think. I don't know what the most recent odds are for him to win the Masters. I would guess they're probably still like somewhere around same odds. I think they're probably like 20 to 1 or something like that. I haven't looked. Have you looked recently? Have either of you guys
they're
looked?
18. They're 18 to 1.
18 to 1. Okay. So I got to tell you, I mean, my tip would be is if you think, of course, it's just a guess. If you think Tiger is going to stay healthy, then by all means, I would probably go ahead and do something now, because if Tiger were to could play well enough like we saw at Hero, and especially if he does well this week at a course he's very familiar with, winning as much as he has, just like the success he's had at Augusta, you're going to hope that you get 18 to 1 odds in April. So, but we just don't know, Joel. We have no idea what to expect now from Tiger. But I have a pretty good feeling. I think a lot of people have a pretty good feeling, but hey, nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah, we've had so many. I mean, I've been burned by this a few times where I think he's finally coming back, but it really does seem different this time. I mean, he sounds a lot more optimistic. He sounds like he's healthy. I mean, if he goes out there and is 8 over through 12 and withdraws with back spasms, I'll be about as shocked as I was that the Jaguars gave up a 10-point lead to the Patriots from the fourth quarter.
I don't need to remind any Jags fans about that.
Yeah, I mean, he does. It does seem different this time. I felt like I'm an ex-girlfriend or something. Like, well, I think he's changed. I think he's really there this time. It's I mean, I wouldn't bet on him because.
Did you write these up and think about them before the show, Joel? These little anecdotes, these little one-liners.
Oh, I don't know. Mostly just going stream of consciousness.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
You've broken his concentration now.
Yeah, you forgot. You're supposed to set me up. I was supposed to get the rim shot ready whenever you forget. You got to tell me these things. I got to be more prepared. All right. So anyway, the bottom line is that you've been burnt before by Tiger, but you're getting the feeling that maybe this is it. That no more getting burnt.
I sure hope so. He seems to. I mean, may change his swing and all that enough. He seems more committed to playing in a way that's not going to injure him as much as his violent swings before have.
All right. What do you think, Jeff?
Here's the oddity. This may be the statistical oddity of the week. As we just discussed, Tiger Woods is 18 to 1 to win the Masters. The boys in Vegas also believe that Tiger is more likely to miss the cut this week as opposed to making the cut this week at a place where he has won 8 times.
What was that? What were those odds? What?
I don't have it in front of me, but the gist is you get better odds at Tiger for Tiger to make the cut as opposed to missing the cut.
Really?
They think he's more likely to miss the cut this week.
Really? Okay.
Than he is to make it.
I'd put a bet on that.
I think we're at a point now where the signs have been encouraging. And this is probably the best, most encouraging run-up that we have had since maybe the scandal. And yet we just don't know because Tiger's body has let him and the rest of us down before.
Yeah,
so
wow.
We're just really at two different ends of the spectrum. It's just going to be great for Golf Channel ratings on Thursday because everybody kind of wants to know, and most people want to be positive about it, but they've been burned before.
I think the thing with any kind of wager or in fantasy golf, I think it's always where you say to yourself, well, because everybody's different. I mean, some people believe in a team or a player, and some people don't. And the people that didn't, and I'm in that category, I never really got super, I know Tiger's going to be back or any of that stuff. And I always was like, okay, wait and see approach, and I know how injuries are and all that kind of stuff. And never got, and maybe it was also just because of the fact that, especially early on, I guess it wasn't that we didn't have that big letdown as much as it became a letdown the more times it happened. But after the first one, then I was initially very cautious myself because, again, I think we've all seen these types of injuries before. And I was also very distracted by the game itself. And I think also my frame of mind, I would have been a little bit more disappointed had this been going on 15 years ago. But now there's so many good golfers to get excited about that when Tiger was trying to make these comebacks after the first time, it was like, all right, well, whatever. I mean, I'm okay without it. But now after seeing him come back and playing so well at the same time, that's the thing that gets us all excited. And the fact that it looks like he's learned his lesson as far as setting him up. And the way I'm looking at this is that I'm willing to, for the first time, kind of get into this. That okay, let's go. I'm rooting for him, maybe really, to tell you the truth, for the first time. It's almost like okay, if he doesn't follow through and he has another injury, I kind of feel like seriously, we've talked about this before. That's it. I mean, he gets another injury after doing everything almost perfectly that he's doing it now. I don't think he's ever coming back.
And that may be the case. We just don't know. This is his. I think the phrase fits. This is his last best chance to become part of the PGA Tour mix for one more chapter of his career.
And how old is he?
42.
Oh, okay. Well, that's also something that is big in this equation of hoping that this is the time that Tiger gets it done because he may not get another one. All right, so let's start with this field that includes Tiger, who's at 20-1, but there are 5 golfers ahead of him on the odds sheet. Those players include the favorite to win this week, Jon Rahm. Then you have Ricky Fowler at 10-1. Rahm's at 7-1. Hideki Matsuyama and Justin Rose are at 14-1. And Jason Day makes his debut for 2018 here in the States at 18-1. Joel's going to get the first pick this week, then Jeff, then me. I was lucky enough to get the first pick last week, so I was able to grab Jon Rahm, and maybe even lucky that he was able to get the win over Andrew Landry in those playoffs. I was thinking about you, Joel, because I know you've taken Andrew Landry several times.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, he looked like he belonged down the clutch there too. I mean, some of it might have been because Rahm was so friendly with him and took the pressure off. Yeah, Landry looked legitimate in that.
Why do you like Landry? What is it about Landry's game that you think that he's apparently somebody to watch?
He's just very mature. I mean, I just when he first came onto the scene at the U.S. Open in 2016, I thought he was just going to wilt right away. And while his final result wasn't super impressive, he held his own that whole time on a really difficult course with a lot of really good golfers around him. He seemed like it took a little bit for him to get back on the PGA Tour. He played well on the Web.com tour to get back there. His game he's got 3 top 10s on the year already now too. I just see a kind of mature game. I think he's very composed. I like that about him.
Yeah, I'm actually
not enough to use the first pick on him this week.
No, maybe the second or third. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see that after what he did last week, that he's 80-1. I mean, that's a big number. He kind of reminds me, Jeff, of he's kind of got the look of, and it was interesting because they were showing, I think, what was it? They were showing some sort of scores or records, and I forget what the records were. And one of the players that had some sort of all-time record there was David Duval. He's got that David Duval look.
He does a little bit, especially with the dark glasses and just kind of the way he carries himself as he's walking down the fairway. I can absolutely see that. And of course, Duval was the guy that shot 59 in the final round to win the Bob Hope in 1999. So I think that's what they were alluding to. Now, I don't know that Landry has Duval's kind of talent, and there's plenty of time to adjust that assessment. But what I have liked is that Andrew Landry has a kind of a bulldog mentality. He doesn't do anything overwhelmingly well, but he seems to make a lot of pars and keep himself in the mix. And as he goes along and improves and becomes more consistent, that in itself could be a very valuable weapon.
What is it about this particular golf course? We have any interesting trends? Anything at all as far as, Tiger Woods surely takes up a lot of that with all his wins, even though he's only had one in the last 8-10 years or something like that. But still. Any trends, anything regarding winners or anything else that will help us make our picks?
Well, I'll give you this. Remember that in some of these West Coast events, we are multiple course events. We had 3 courses last week in Springs. We have 3 at Pebble Beach, et cetera, et cetera. What may not be as well known is that this is actually a 2-course event here at Torrey Pines. Torrey Pines North is used in the first and second rounds. Everybody must play both courses at some point during the first 2 rounds. And so for a long time, the South was far tougher than the North course. And to the point where it was like a 2-stroke difference. And of course, the South also got the upgrade. They got ready to host the U.S. Open, which made it even bigger disparity. Well, a few years ago, they hired Tom Weiskopf to say, you know what, we need to bring the North back up to kind of the level of the South course because it has become a huge imbalance. And the North course is still kind of the little sister to the South course, but it is a much tougher course. And I think because of that, you're seeing the winning score come down because there isn't that one dartboard round at the North course. And the interesting trend, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it necessarily, but you want to start on the South course. Each of the last 7 winners of this tournament have started their week on the South course and played the North course on Friday. The last player to win starting on the North, Ben Crane in 2010.
Okay, well, who's playing then on the South?
Yeah, we're going to have to check those tee times.
When do we get those? Do we have them yet?
I don't think
they
they're
might
out
be
yet.
out today.
Yeah, so
actually they are out. They have come out possibly since this broadcast started. So if you have anybody in particular that you want to ask about, we can look them up.
Where is it?
I've got it off the PGA Tour media site.
All right. Well, just
the
go
rumor
down.
was that Tiger and Rahm were going to be together.
Go down the notables. Who's notably playing on the South course?
Okay.
Round 1.
Starting on the South course, we have Mark Leishman on the South. We have, John Rahm is starting on the South along with Jason Day and Brandt Snedeker. That's the threesome. In the very next group, starting on the South, Patrick Reed, Charlie Hoffman, Tiger Woods.
Okay.
Also starting on the South, is Johnny Vegas, Siwoo Kim, Luke Dum, Jimmy Walker, Adam Hadwin, who played pretty well last week, trying carrying some momentum through there.
Okay.
Keegan Bradley, and those are the notables that will start on the South course.
Okay. And by the way, speaking of the rotations, last week, the course actually was that main course was actually pretty tough. I mean, we're not seeing the low scores that we saw maybe last year or even the last couple of years at some of these courses so far this season. Even at the Century Tournament of Champions, I know the weather conditions had something to do with it, but still, I mean, we're not getting these blazing, crazy low scores yet. So I don't know if that's good or not.
Well, and some of that's by design, as we talked about last week. The TPC West Stadium course, which had been banned or shadow banned from its own tournament, was introduced, lasted 1 year. The players actually petitioned to get it out of the rotation. It was out of the rotation for 20 years or so. But in the last 3 years, it has been the primary course, and you have seen the scores moderate quite a bit, in fact, since the TPC West Stadium course has gone back into the rotation.
All right, so Joel, you've got the first pick, and we've told everybody as much as we cut. We've given the odds for some of the top players. We're letting you know who's on the South course in case you want to go with that crazy trend. So who are you going to go with?
Well, one other thing I thought was real impressive about last year's tournament, real quick, there was a lot of big names I missed the cut. You had Justin Johnson, Jason Day, Brooks Koepka, and that sucks for CBS. But that was I can't think of another tournament, a non-major that had that.
And why do you think that is? Because I know that this has definitely been. I mean, this is a tough golf course. I mean, we have not seen anybody. Lower than if you take a look at the scores. Well, 13 under last year was pretty good considering the three previous were 6, 9, and 9. Matter of fact, I mean, there must have been a weather situation for 2016, right? When Snedeker won at 6 under.
On the last day, everyone was shooting like 80.
That was a brutal final day. They actually, if you recall, they actually had to suspend the round because of high winds, and Snedeker finished his round on Sunday when winds were only moderately breezy. And then the winds kicked up severely to the point where they suspended the round. They cleared the golf course. The winds came through. They tore up grandstands. They tore up hospitality, and they downed some trees. And so they had to have a Monday finish for everybody that hadn't finished, on basically an empty golf course. They wouldn't allow spectators on the course because of the danger of any branches that they didn't know were also damaged. They didn't want it falling on spectators. So it was a very weird Monday finish 2 years ago because it was the only players there were tournament officials, players, and caddies. And the eventual winner was sitting in the clubhouse saying, I don't know, maybe I'll have to go to a playoff, maybe not. He didn't have to play a single shot on Monday.
All right. Well, any idea as far as how the weather is so far, or what we're supposed to what we're gonna get? Anything? I mean, normally it's good weather. So even though the country has been dealing with a lot of strange weather over the last several weeks, from crazy snowstorms to mild temperatures. I know we were at, I think, like about 60 yesterday, and now we're back down to normal 40. What are you still shoveling snow, Joel?
Actually, it rained a lot here yesterday for some reason. All the snow is gone. I'm sure it'll be back. Every day seems something different in Michigan, but yeah, those 60s, even 40s sound really, really nice. It's been cold, but snow's going away.
Okay. So weather, not a factor as far as we know?
Chillier than normal, which will create heavy air and lengthen those golf courses a little bit, but nothing in the forecast for strange high winds, nothing of that nature.
All right. Joel, without further ado, your pick.
Well, with these tournaments, you're always kind of trying to balance who's been playing the best lately and who's the best lately at this course. And fortunately, the same person is true for both of those. It's always a little difficult picking the defending champion and the guy who just won last week, but Jon Rahm is the exception to every rule, it seems, this year. I think I'd be crazy not to take him. I can't really feel like a good argument for anyone else. If one of you two had the first pick and taken Justin Rose, I probably wouldn't have looked down on you too much for it. But other than that, I think it's got to be Rahm first.
I will say this. I forgot the rule that we forgot about. Let me throw this rule back in. You remember the rule, right, Jeff?
Does Joel even? I remember the rule. I was going to ask, does Joel know the rule?
I don't know. He might have, but we forgot. I don't know why we forgot this, but we just did. We're kind of new starting, and I know we're getting more and more listeners each week. So this is one of our rules. But I wasn't going to take Rahm anyway, even though he won last week. So don't worry, Joel. But the rule is that if you correctly predict the player to win and he wins, like I picked Jon Rahm and he won last week, I get the first chance to get him no matter where I pick.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that rule since we started.
Okay, it's new. Yeah, but again, I'm not going to pick him anyway. And you would have to disclose that. So like me, I can't just go, all right, don't pick him. I don't pick him, and then so I'll just let you know before if I'm going to pick him or not, or if I'm thinking of it. I might even tease that in there. But if I'm not picking him, then I'll just let you know in advance, so you can just go ahead and make the pick. So yeah. So anyway, that's a rule, and that's just so in case we want to pick him. We deserve it. We got him, but you're going to go with him. Back-to-back wins. Okay. And not only back-to-back wins for Rahm if he wins, but back-to-back wins as defending champ. So that's an awful lot. Look, the field is strong. There ain't no question about it, but we see no Rory. We see no Jordan Spieth. Surprised we're not getting Jordan Spieth, Jeff.
Not really. He does not play a heavy West Coast schedule. He really spaces it out in California and even in Florida because the meat of his schedule is going to be a couple of weeks leading up to the Masters. The match play, Houston, the Masters, and then he'll have the tournaments kind of in his backyard in the Dallas area. So he does not play a heavy West Coast or Florida schedule. He'll make appearances, but he's not going to cluster 3 or 4 of them together.
And no Justin Thomas either. So no Thomas.
That's correct. And remember, both those guys played the Hawaiian double. So
yeah.
This is perfectly. There's nothing unusual about taking consecutive weeks off. I'm not sure whether either one of them is going to play in Phoenix, but I know at least Jordan Spieth is going to play Pebble Beach, and he's a former champion there. So Think about that as the scheduling progresses.
All right, Jeff. So Joel's got Jon Rahm, the defending champ, coming off a win last week, and he'll be teeing off on the South Course to boot. So at 7-1, Jeff, who are you going to take?
I'm going to buck the South Course trend just because I like the way he's been playing. He didn't play all that well last week in Abu Dhabi. Not sure why that is. But I still like his form. He was 4th last year, and he's got 3 wins in the last 3 months. So I think there's still a lot of good for Justin Rose as he comes across. I'll take it. It came down to him and somebody else, but Rose gets the ever so slight edge here.
Yeah, for me, it was. I had 3 on my list. I was waiting to see what you guys were going to do as the third guy, and since Rahm wasn't there, I still had 3. So I had my top 2, and I was going to take either or. So I wasn't sure, to tell you the truth. But you made it easy for me. But obviously you mentioned Joel, Justin Rose. I'm sure that means he was probably your second pick. Was he your second pick?
Yeah, he would have been.
Okay. He's your first pick. He was either my first or second pick, and why not? Like you said, 11 straight top 25s. And you know what? I think I'm willing to excuse the 22nd place finish last week because he had a little time off. So that's going to happen. Maybe he needed to kind of get things rolling again. But what is it? 11 straight top 25s now for Justin Rose. And like you said, 4th last year. He led after the first round, didn't he, last year? Shooting a 65, I believe.
He led at the midpoint last year before struggling on the weekend.
Okay, so got off to a good start with that 65, led at the midpoint. And, that kind of form on this golf course is probably what you're looking for, because we've seen players, including my pick, which is surprising absolutely nobody, Ricky Fowler, is somebody that has gone through some really weird trends here. And that's what we've seen here from players. We see players that kind of get into these ruts for 2 or 3 years here, and then they go back to playing well for 2 or 3 years. So Rose is after missing the cut for a couple of straight years, seems to be on that good run with the 4th last year. Ricky's not on a good run. He's missed 3 out of his last 4 cuts here, with a high of 61st. So that's not good. But before that, he had 4 straight top 20s here, including 2 top 10s and a 1 5th place finish. So he does know how to play well here, and he's on an incredible roll with 13 straight top 30s, including 4 top 5s in his last 5, 2 runner-ups and a win. He's coming up the 4th at the Century. So yeah, I mean, I'll take him. The form is just too good for me to pass up. And then so yeah, we'll find out. I mean, any particular reason why you could think why a player would go through that kind of a spell on this golf course, Jeff? I mean, like Ricky.
I'll give you the one right now.
South golf course, north, south.
No, it has nothing to do with those golf courses. It has to do with Abu Dhabi Golf Club and him coming over from Abu Dhabi each of the last 3 years, which he did not do.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Was Rose at Abu Dhabi last year?
I don't recall off the top of my head that whether Rose played Abu Dhabi or not.
Okay. All right. Because maybe Rose did not play Abu Dhabi last year, but played the 2 years before that when he missed the cut. I don't know. That's just guesswork. Okay, so there you go. Rahm, Rose, and Fowler are our top 3 picks. So I feel a lot better then taking Ricky, since he didn't play at Abu Dhabi last week. All right, so Joel, Rahm is your top pick. Who are you going with pick number 2? Another player from the South course?
Actually, well, I didn't know if he was. I just looked it up, and he is on the South, so that makes me feel a little more confident about this now. But speaking of trends, this one's probably been really frustrating for fantasy owners or just people gambling on this. Mark Leishman every week seems to be really good or really bad. He's rotating these. He had that win in the FedEx Cup playoffs, and then he also had. I know I think he was tied for 47th last week, but he also had a second place, another one, tied for 7th, the other one, and we're back to rotating the good ones. I don't know if that actually does matter or if this is a coincidence, but regardless, he was runner-up in 2014 and 2010, so he's played well here before. He was tied for 20th last year, and 4th in scoring average on the year. I think 22-1 odds. Those are pretty good.
All right. Yeah. Leishman was definitely a player that I was thinking about for sure, even though, again, he did have that 47th at Sony. But, yeah, he has played well recently for sure. And he's got the 2 runner-ups here. So good. Definitely somebody, though, that you would think needs to get off to a good start. And he's on that South golf course, so maybe that'll help. And I know you like Leishman a lot, Jeff. He's a player that you've grabbed from time to time.
Absolutely, and he was actually in an either-or situation for my pick coming up. So Joel kind of made my mind up for him. But Leishman, I like, and yeah, even though he's kind of alternated, good mark, bad mark, you kind of want to be on his side when he's good mark, and he does play well in the wind, and he does, like this golf course. So it's a good reason to take him. I'm going to take a guy. The other option on my twofer here was somebody who is a former champion and had preceded that with 2 other top 10s, and is hoping to get off to a heck of a lot better start than he did last year when he just never gained any traction. And even right to the end, where he had the 54-hole lead at the Australian Open and then shot 75 to allow himself to get pipped by Cameron Davis. But let's see if Jason Day, with the time off, can come to a place that he's comfortable and play well. So I'm gonna go with Jason Day as my number 2 pick.
Yeah, another guy who is up and down at Torrey Pines. Like you said, he had those 3 straight top 10s, runner-up, win in that 4-man playoff, and I had him that year. because I remember that very, very. It was a very exciting playoff. Even I think Charles Howell had a chance to get into a 5-man. I think he missed a putt on 18 that would have put him into that playoff. So go ahead.
I looked it up a little earlier because I was curious. Jason Day is also statistically the best putter in the course on Poa-Alana.
Okay.
That's something too. He likes these greens.
Okay. And I'm not sure if Jason Day's been overseas with those missed cuts compared to the week before playing here or not, compared to those 3 top 10s, the runner up in the win. But then there you go. Just very strange. Have players of this caliber that have looked really good and then have not even made the cut a couple times, like Jason Day the past 2 years.
He's paired with Rahm too, so because I'm not sure if that's good or bad for him. It can be kind of intimidating, but they could be drafting off each other too. You don't know.
Rahm and Day. Did you say Rahm, Day, and Leishman?
Rahm, Day, and Snedeker.
Snedeker, okay. Yeah, Snedeker is at 33-1. He's a 2-time champ. And 9th last year, runner-up 2 other times, 3rd another time. Matter of fact, I think he has like 7 top 10s. But the only thing with Brandt is he didn't make the cut last week, Jeff, so we really still have no idea what to expect, and more than likely, it's not a good time to take him just yet.
I would tend to wait, even though he's a former champion, 2-time former champion here. It looks like he needs a little bit more time to get his feet firmly underneath him coming back from yet another injury.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. I mean, I do like, this week I do have about 5 or 6 players I like that range from like 30-1 to like 70-1, maybe even a little bit more. So I like a lot of those guys, but nobody that just sticks out where I go, you got to have him. So I'm gonna take a guy that he's won here before. His odds, considering he's won here before, not too bad. Some guy named Tiger Woods. I'll take him at 20-1. So yeah, I'm gonna take Tiger. I say why not? At 20-1, I know one of these situations, if Tiger actually, we don't know if Tiger is going to just come out, boom, play great like he did at the Hero, and if he does, then the next week, if he contends top 5, top 10, we'll see his odds down to 8-1, 7-1, or something like that. So, considering a lot of the good players that are off the board that I would have taken, because I would have taken Rose, I took Fowler, I would have taken Leishman, I would have taken Day. So I'll take Tiger at 20-1. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned with Day is like what did happen at the Aussie Open. I'm a little concerned with that, considering not a tough field. He is you would have hoped that he was going to get his game going, like you said, Jeff. He wasn't able to get anything going last season. So we don't know. I mean, we just don't really know what to expect, and this is a tough golf course. And he hasn't made the cut here the last couple of years. So I was a little bit unsure, but he definitely was somebody that I was considering at a strong 18-1. All right, so I'm going to go with Tiger at 20-1 as my second pick, Joel. Who you got?
I'm torn here between 2 players who actually have about double Tiger's odds. And I have just looked up. Both of them are on the north, so I'll try to forget about that for now. So I got my 2 south guys in my first 2.
Yeah, that's it. You got it covered.
Here, the guy I'm really high on this week, Gary Woodland at 40-1.
Okay.
I really like a lot. He's got 4 straight top 10s at Torrey Pines.
Mm-hmm.
He was tied for third in 2015. Had back-to-back rounds of 65 there. He was good at the Sony earlier, and something really good for him. He's putting all of a sudden. 14th in strokes gained putting this year, which is a lot for him. But he's got the length for this course. He was 1-2. I was really tight between there.
What does Woodland have?
40-1.
No, well, you said straight what? Top 10s?
Oh, 4 straight top 10s, yes.
Where?
At Torrey Pines.
He does?
Was that this tournament?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Whatever. I might have been top 20s.
Yeah, I think he's got, but I think I saw 3 top 20s out of 4, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, that's still good.
I think that's what I saw.
I hit a wrong button on my thing. Yeah, 4 straight top 10s.
So you're okay with that. And he is coming off that 7th at Sony, and he was one of those players I mentioned. He was a player in that group that I definitely was thinking about myself.
Oh, yeah, he played great here before.
Yeah,
now
he has.
All of a sudden he's putting.
You know, one of the things I remember, because I picked him here, I think it was 4 years ago. That was the year he finished 10th. And I recall, I think he was like in contention for the win and played really bad on Sunday. So yeah, he's had, we know that he's had that issue, Jeff. You know, he's had that issue closing on Sundays before.
Yeah, he has, and the wins that he's had, he's kind of done it through fluky means, but I remember just some monster putts that for his very first PGA Tour win at Tampa. He kind of played completely against form, but it worked for him. But we know he's got the talent. He did have a very star-crossed season last year. With the oddity of a miscarriage, losing one of 2 twins and having to get over that and still yet becoming a father with the other one. And I think that, maybe it has settled down for him now. And he was 7th at Wailea 2 weeks ago. So at least the signs are encouraging for Gary coming into a place where he's played well.
By the way, none of us have taken Hideki Matsuyama, who's sitting at 14-1. He's never had a top 10 here, and he has missed the cut a couple of times. But he does have he's got 4 top 5s in his last 5, including 3 straight. So Matsuyama might be somebody to keep an eye on. And now the other players that are left that we have not taken that are still in our regular category, our long shots are 50-1 or higher, include Brian Harman and Patrick Cantlay at 30-1, Tony Finau at 33-1, Cameron Smith, Charles Howell III, Ollie Schneider-Jans at 40-1, Shane Lowry, Patrick Reed, Bud Cauley, and Phil Mickelson at 45-1. And Phil did not play particularly well last week, Jeff. So very disappointing. I know you had him last week, Joel, but pretty disappointing. But then again, he hasn't played in a while. He's a 3-time champ of this event. Really went through an incredible string here of top 10s and top 5s and wins. But since his runner-up finish about, 6 years ago, he hasn't really played all that well. His best result was 14th last year in quite a while.
Yeah, sure. I think his last 6 times he has 3 missed cuts and a withdrawal. Just hasn't been clicking with him lately, but it'd be hard to be surprised if he figured it out this week, even with last week's disappointment.
Yeah, not probably somebody that we would be confident to take this week, right, Jeff?
No, he has really struggled since they redid the South Course to get ready for the 2008 U.S. Open. Yeah, he did have the runner-up finish. What was it in 2010, and he's got another top 20. But you can almost see a line of demarcation in there between the redesign of the South Course and Phil's performances at his own, boyhood home tournament.
All right, you have Rose and Day. Who's your third pick, Jeff?
I thought about Hideki Matsuyama. I'm still a little skittish about his performance at Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a Southern California guy who only has 1 PGA Tour start on this course, but I am very confident that he's had a few more in college events or amateur events or things like that. And Patrick Cantlay has really started to show the form that we all expected of him about 5 years ago before the back injury really sidelined him. He's won in Vegas. He's got 2 other top 15s. And I think even though he only has the 1 start as a rookie at Torrey Pines, I don't think there's going to be a lack of comfort there.
Yeah, he was definitely a player to keep an eye on for me this week as well, with the 7 straight top 20s, the win at Shriners. So, wow. I mean, it's good to see him healthy. And he is, even though he's got the win at Shriners, I'm not sure people realize how well he's playing. So, I mean, how good can he be?
Before he was injured, he was a guy that was top 15 at the major championship as an amateur. He shot 60 as an amateur at the Travelers Championship up in Hartford. The sky was the limit. And turned pro early the following spring out of UCLA, and just the wrong injury at the wrong time, stress fracture in his back. And then on top of that, we've talked about it before, the added tragedy of losing his best friend and caddy during this whole rehabilitation period when his friend was hit by a drunk driver, and he saw it happen. And they were in the crosswalk at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that just really put him on a spiral that took some time to dig out. But boy, has he played very well, very consistently in the last year.
All right, and another young player that we know has game that I have taken quite a bit. And I'm just going to keep taking him as much as I can because he just keeps playing and hovering well. And that's 40-1 shot Ollie Schneiderjans, coming off the 7th place finish at Sony, 9th year last year. So that combination, including the fact that I have taken him quite a bit lately, I can't not take him. I mean, just keep rolling the dice with him, and maybe he'll be able to put it all together when it counts the most. So Schneiderjans will be my third choice at 40-1. All right, now it's time for long shots. Joel, 50-1 or more, and there are some good long shots here. It starts at 50-1 with Brendan Steele, Johnny Vegas, Kyle Stanley, who choked it up when Brent Snedeker won in 2012. But he is hot right now. Kyle Stanley's got 8 top 30s in his last 9. Including a couple top 10s in his last 3, 5th at the WGC. So he's somebody to watch here, as is maybe Vegas, who's starting the year pretty well, 11th last week. And 55-1, we got Hoffman, Molinari. 66-1, we got Hadwin, Uline, Bradley, and Noren, and then the rest. So any of those players, or do you like somebody else as your top long shot?
There are a lot of great long shots. There's someone I keep refreshing my screen because there's someone at 45-1 I really, really wanted to take. Hasn't bumped up those 5 extra points in the meantime, so I'm gonna have to look alternate on that one.
Yeah, they don't really refresh as quickly on Tuesdays as they do on Wednesdays, Joel. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But of the ones there, I like Johnny Vegas a lot this week.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. He was tied for 11th, tied for 7th in his last 2 starts. He had just 4 bogeys on his round last week, which is really impressive for him. He tied for 18th in this event once in 2016, 11th in 2015. He's got the length for it. He's a great fit for the course. He's going to do well on the par 5s, and he's as likely as anyone in the field to all of a sudden just explode for like a mid-round 64 or something. It's just a matter of whether he can put it together for 4 rounds. But he looks more consistent lately.
All right. By the way, another player at 50-1 is Xander Schauffele, who's missed the cut here a couple of times. Jeff, I know you've taken Peter Uline quite a bit. As I mentioned, he's 66-1 playing here, I believe, for the first time. He was 17th last week. Grayson Murray's at 70-1. He was 14th last week. He seems to be playing a little bit better. I believe you went with Lucas Glover last week. He finished 29th. He's had some good moments here. Andrew Landry, as you mentioned, is sitting there at 80-1. Harris English, is he now starting to get into form? We've waited for a long time for that to happen after an 11th place finish last week. He was part of that 4-man playoff loss to Jason Day here 3 years ago. Let's see. And I know you also took and a player that I have taken a couple times, Bo Hostler. You took him last week. He finished a strong 20th after starting 64 at the Career Builder. He was 49th here last year. So those are some of the other players in the long shot category. Anybody there, or do you like somebody else?
Well, I'm going to go back to somebody that you mentioned very high in that 50-1 category, and maybe there's a little bit of sentimental rooting for the story pick to this, but he has been playing a heck of a lot more consistently the last year or thereabouts, and he got his second career win last year at the Quicken Loans National, and I think Kyle Stanley has just been playing a lot steadier, and call it the unfinished business pick perhaps, but I do like his form right now.
Yeah, he was definitely on my list, no question about it. I might have taken him if you didn't. He is, again, 8 top 30s last 9. I don't know if he's ever played like that. And he also has played a little bit better here. I mean, look, after choking it up in 2012, he missed a cut. I mean, he really did kind of disappear anyway, but he missed a cut here a couple years. But since then, he's gradually been better here over the last few years, 14th last year. So maybe the trends are lining up for Kyle Stanley to get retribution from not being able to close a deal. And if anybody, do you recall when Kyle Stanley lost to Brandt Snedeker in 2012, Joel?
Yeah, that was I think the impressive thing about that was, didn't he come back the very next week and come back from 6 strokes? I want to say against Spencer Levine or someone like that.
Bingo.
It was impressive how quickly he came back from that loss. I remember it was like the day before the Super Bowl or the day of the Super Bowl, either that or the week after.
There you go.
But he was impressive, and it looks like he's starting to get his career back on track. Good for him.
All right. My long shot is a player that I've taken a couple times lately. I know he didn't have a particularly good go of it in his last event, but I still think, health is the only thing that matters for SW Kim. And so Siwoo Kim will be my long shot at 80-1. He had to withdraw last year from this event. So, again, injuries will happen, but he did have a solid 18th place finish a couple of years ago here. And it doesn't hurt that he'll be starting on the South Course. Okay, next up, Joel, is going to be your first alternate. So if Rahm, Leishman, or Woodland, and these become even more important now that we're doing Tuesday shows. So if these guys don't tee it up, somebody decides I'm not going to play tomorrow before Thursday, who is your first alternate?
This is the guy I was torn between when I was looking at Gary Woodland, but 45-1. I like Shane Lowry a lot this week. He's been quietly playing a lot better lately. He was runner up to Jon Rahm, the DP World Tour. His last 4 results have been tied for 12th or better.
Mm-hmm.
He's played well in this tournament too. He was tied for 13th in 2016, tied for 7th in 2015, and some of the trends. It feels like he didn't get on a lot of leaderboards last year, but he was 16th in strokes gained off the tee and 10th strokes gained putting, and he was another one that I looked up on the list of. He was the second best putting on Poa Ona in this field when I looked that up too.
Okay. All right, so there you go, Shane Lowry. Yep, somebody that you have to keep an eye on, and his form is the reason why he's 45-1. Like you said, 12th or better in 4 straight, including that runner-up his last time out to Jon Rahm. Okay, so let's. By the way, Jeff, another guy that's sitting there at 40-1 is Charles Howell III. Who was runner-up here last year. He's been runner-up here 3 times and has got a whole bunch of top 20s. Once again, just shows you that he loves to get off to these good starts on the West Coast. So I don't know if this is Charles Howell's time, but I don't know. I mean, sooner or later, we might just decide, enough of taking Charles Howell. Win already.
Might be, and you know what? It could be this week because it came down to Charles Howell and the guy I'm going to take because I really like the progress Tony Finau has been making at Torrey Pines the last 3 years, from 24th to 18th to 4th. He hasn't missed a cut in his last 18 starts. He's got 3 top 20s this season. He's a power hitter built for Torrey Pines. I'll go with Finau ahead of Charles Howell and may live to regret it.
Yeah, for that one time that you decide to go away from Charles Howell. But, yeah, Howell's got a very good resume here, so may not be a bad idea to just throw a buck on him at 40-1 just to make sure.
This is probably the first time that I didn't have Finau in forever. So, yeah. So another that one time for me.
You too.
Andy Landry part 2.
Yeah, you too. Finau, fourth last year, as Jeff said. The only thing is he's trending in the wrong way on tour, but maybe more importantly, he likes to play here. And as we've said, maybe you want to grab players that are trending well on this golf course over the last few years, and that might be something to go with. So Tony Finau at 33-1 is Jeff's alternate in case Rose, Day, or Cantlay failed to tee it off on Thursday. My final two picks for my alternate came down to either Cameron Smith or the player I'm going to take, and that is Brian Harman. So I'll take Brian Harman again. Grabbed him last week. He played pretty well, but then wasn't able to put anything together over the weekend, so he finished 20th. But as I said last week, I mean, why not just keep going with the guy as long as he's still playing and contending? Because sooner or later he might break through. He's got 7 straight top 25s, 9th here last year. So I'll give him another shot as an alternate at 30-1. But Jeff, I know how much you like Cameron Smith as well, and I was really close to taking him a couple of times. 7 straight top 20s. I know he hasn't played as much here in the States, but 18th at Sony, so maybe that gets him comfortable. And 4 top 5s. And a win inside that last 7 appearances. Hasn't shown much here yet, but at least he's played here. And I'm not really concerned with how he's played here recently anyway, because he's playing the best golf of his career.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot to be said for that. I think I did shy away a little bit because he's only made 1 out of his previous 3 cuts at Torrey Pines, and that was 33rd last year. And so when you've got guys like Finau and Cantlay that you can still pick, Cameron, falls off that chart a little bit, but he is moving in the right direction, no question.
All right, alternate long shot, Joel. If Johnny Vegas does not tee it up on Thursday, we've talked about a bunch of players already. Other long shots to consider. Bill Haas has a good resume here. Harkins was 8th last week. Let's see, who else? Griot, we both picked him a bunch the last couple of years. He seems to be playing better. Maybe he'll have another good week. We talked about Ryan Palmer last week, and he finished 20th. We talked about Nick Watney, and he's started to play pretty well last week, and he faded down the stretch. He's done really well at this golf course, though, including a win in 2009. Martin Pillar was 3rd last week, 4th at Mayakoba not too long ago. Scott Stallings loves to play here. He was 1st in 2014 and a part of the 4-man playoff when he lost to Jason Day in 2015. Pillar and Stallings are 150-1. And KJ Choi has also played pretty well here over the last 5 years with a couple of runner-ups. So any of the players we've mentioned, or do you have somebody new for us?
I mean, well, Stallings and Haas are a little tempting because of their history, but both of their games are really, really poor right now. I'm going to go with the guy I'm kind of surprised he ranks as a long shot. Charlie Hoffman at 55-1. He was 2nd at the Hero recently, which I don't know how much stock to put into that, but on this show a few weeks ago I was saying, I don't care that Brooks Koepka was dead last there. Yeah. But
well, he had a wrist injury. So
yeah, which I didn't know at the time.
That's right. See?
Yeah, Hoffman was tied 7th in 2014. He seems to he puts a lot of decent rounds up at this course, but it seems like he always has that one big round. Like last year, he had a 68 round 3, 76 in round 4. Then the year before, it was a 75 in round 1. But was playing the best stretches of golf in his life for a while there, and I think I could see him being more consistent and finally avoiding that round where he has that huge number.
All right, so no Andrew Landry then. You're going to go another week without him.
I was tempted.
Right.
Landry only had one bogey in the entire time last week. That was really impressive.
Yeah, that would be.
Hoffman, those numbers are just too juicy for me.
Okay.
Hoffman's in there.
He's got 2 7th place finishes. One few years before that one you mentioned, and so hasn't played particularly well recently, but has played well before on the golf course. And yeah, it kind of will be very difficult for Landry to bounce back after that. The type of player he is. He's a younger player, hasn't won a lot or at all. What was his win last year? Where was that, by the way?
It was on the web.com.
That was just a regular web.com event?
He's the one that won the Ellie Mae Classic, the Steph Curry one. Or was that Marty
Actually,
Scally?
now that I think about it, Andrew Landry won what's being played right now on the web.com in the Bahamas, the Great Abaco Classic.
Okay. Timing might be right then. He likes playing this time of year. So, okay. Well, maybe he got that out of his system last week. All right. But anyway, he's somebody to consider. I'd throw a buck on him at 80-1. Why not? Jeff, you're next. You have Kyle Stanley as your long shot at 50-1. I know, I mentioned Harris English. That's a player that you gave up on recently, and why not? He hadn't really been playing well at all, but his game seems to be picking things up, or at least it did last week. So anybody else? I know, other notable players, Lahiri, DeChambeau, at around 100-1. Anybody else that I didn't mention that you like? Billy Horschel?
Well, this isn't my pick, but Francesco Molinari is sitting out there at 55-1. This is his first start of 2018. We last saw him finish 8th at the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. So
could be my pick.
So that could be a possibility.
Sure.
But I'm actually going to use this pick to ride Andrew Landry and see how he responds to the playoff loss. And the fact that he's just playing really consistently and really well right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good that one of us grabbed him. Why not 80-1? Put a buck on the guy, for crying out loud. All right. Molinari was my second option as my second long shot. Kim was my top long shot. So if he does not, and hey, with his injury history, you never know. But I'm going to go ahead and take a guy that I've taken a bunch of times before. Wasn't fortunate enough to pick him though. He really hasn't had form except for last week. But and like I said, I wasn't able to pick him when he won at the Valspar last year, so I missed out on that. But Adam Hadwin will be my alternate long shot play. And it helps that he's on the South Golf Course on Thursday. But he did withdraw from this event when he was playing his best golf, and that was about 5 years ago. So even though he hasn't played all that great the last 3 years here, he has made the cut, I believe, every time he's played, or at least the last 3 years. He was 7 under par after the third round about 5-6 years ago, and then had to withdraw. So he's had some good experiences here before. And third place last week. He just couldn't come up with the big putt on those last 5 or 6 holes, or maybe the back 9 in general, to put himself in a position to win. But maybe that'll get his game going. 66-1 shot. Adam Hadwin, my second alternate. Okay. Anybody else, guys, that I did not mention that you like? Jeff?
I'll throw one at you that I cannot find on the odds chart right now, and maybe it's because he is a late add to the field. But Julian Suri is somebody that ought to be at least kept an eye on, perhaps this year as he goes through his dual seasons. He is on the European Tour. He is a Florida native from the Jacksonville area. He is taking the Brooks Koepka / Peter Uihlein path to the PGA Tour. And we know that that's worked out pretty well for the two of those guys. But Julian got a win on the Challenge Tour last year. He later followed up with a win on the regular European Tour. At this time last year, he was 1,125th in the world golf rankings. Today, he's number 62. And so I think this is somebody who has a very good golf pedigree, has shown he's got game, took the scenic route. But and this, I'm not sure if this is his first PGA Tour start. He may have picked one up, in the fall season somewhere else. But I think this is a guy worth following as we go along.
All right. How about you, Joel? Anyone else?
Well, you mentioned Lahiri. I took him a few times earlier this year. He's got top 15 in 3 of his last 4. Although he's been off lately. And one that kind of stands out to me at 175-1, Cameron Davis. He was the guy who was 6 back of Jason Day the final round of the Australian Open and ended up winning.
A lot of Aussies here.
There were some decent names in that field. And the final round, I believe, was 64 or something like that. And But yeah, 175 to 1 odds on someone who's won that recently.
Okay.
Worth, a buck.
Alexander Norin is playing here. He has cooled off quite a bit after getting really hot last year, but he's cooled off. He's at 66 to 1. And let's see, J.B. Holmes is another player that's cooled off. He's at 70 to 1. He was part of that 4-man playoff with Jason Day 3 years ago. He's had some pretty good moments here, actually, over the last 4 years. So at 70 to 1, J.B. Holmes might be somebody to keep an eye on. John Ha was third last week, 8th here a couple of years ago. C.T. Pond was runner-up here last year. He's 125 to 1. What kind of a player do you think C.T. Pond is, Jeff?
I think that he's a guy that is going to be on the tour for a number of years. He got off to a really, really good start during the West Coast swing, and he went to the University of Washington and kind of has all of that Pac-10, Pac-12 background, but he faded once the tour left the West Coast. So
okay.
He needs to get more consistent, maybe needs to go through a second cycle of seeing some of those other courses, but the guy's obviously got talent.
All right. As I mentioned before, Billy Horschel is here. He's 90 to 1. J.J. Spawn was 9th here last year. He is 90 to 1. Let's see. Chasson Hadley's here. He is 100 to 1. Patrick Rogers was 4th here last year. Still waiting for him to become a star golfer. That hasn't happened yet. He's at 100 to 1. Jimmy Walker is still off his game. Missed the cut again last week. He's had a very good history here. Bunch of top 10s and a few top 5s, but not on his game. Stuart Sink was 20th last week. I know you like taking him, Joel. He's got a pretty good resume here for his career. Let's see. Luke Donald lost the playoff to John Daly in 2004. But Luke hasn't played here a whole lot in recent years, and when he hasn't made the cut. Seamus Power was 11th last week. Robert Streb has got 3 top 20s in his last 4 appearances. Actually, 3 top 20s, I believe, 3 appearances here. 9th last year, so Streb may be a player to keep an eye on. Padraig Harrington's here. He's 200 to 1. Hunter Mahan seems to be playing a little bit better. Maybe we should start paying attention to Hunter Mahan. I'm sure we will once he finishes in the top 20. He's got a bunch of top 20s here. And there you go. So those are a bunch of players to keep an eye on this week at the Farmers.
I'll throw 2 more out.
Go ahead and do it.
That are down in the 250 to 1. These are a couple of fairly recently minted professionals that were very good at the college level. Maverick McNeely is a former world amateur number 1. He held that spot for a good long time, and he's a California guy, so he's playing this event. Maverick McNeely at 250 to 1, and along with him at 250 to 1 is last year's Jack Nicklaus College Player of the Year, Sam Burns, an LSU product.
All right. By the way, this is the last event for the year. I mean the month, Jeff. So what do we got going on the next? We got Phoenix next week, right?
That's correct.
And do we know who's going to be there? You'll have your first look report at PGAtour.com for that event on Friday. Do we have any idea as far as notable names? Because that usually gets a pretty good field.
It's kind of been up and down depending on where the participants are. And I know that sounds kind of obvious, but Phil Mickelson goes every year, and when he was top 5 in the world, it was a great addition. Now he's number 43 in the world, but he's still Phil Mickelson. They're going to get the number 2 player in the world rankings because Jon Rahm is also an Arizona State guy, and that's where he made his initial splash. 3 years ago at the Phoenix Open as an amateur, and tied for 5th. So Rahm is going to be there. Mickelson's going to be there. We know about Bubba Watson, and Brooks Koepka would have been there except for the injury, but
no Tiger.
Phoenix. Tiger has played Phoenix, but he is being very careful with his schedule this year, and he only has scheduled 2 West Coast events. This one, and of course the one that he now hosts at Riviera, the Genesis Open.
And when is that event?
That is the last event on the West Coast swing. So we're going to go Phoenix, Pebble Beach, Genesis / Los Angeles before we head to Florida.
All right, so that Genesis event, that's the Tiger event?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the one at Riviera. Nissan used to be a sponsor. Northern Trust used to be a sponsor. This is the second year for Genesis.
Okay.
As the sponsor for the event.
So 3 more to go, and then we go to Florida.
Correct.
And what about that WGC event in Mexico? Is that still in Mexico?
It is still in Mexico, and the Mexican government is actually paying a pretty high price to keep it there. Right now, for this year's schedule, it's going to stay in the spot that it was when it was at Doral, and so we're going to go. The Florida swing begins with Honda, and then it's going to go to Mexico, unless you don't qualify for Mexico, in which case you're going to take the week off because the Puerto Rico Open will not be held this year because of the damage from Hurricane Maria. And then we'll go back to Florida for the Valspar and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I fully expect that when the schedule gets rejiggered next year to accommodate the players moving back to March, the PGA moving into May, that the WGC will be moved into the more natural spot in the schedule between Los Angeles and Florida.
Okay.
But that's a year away.
All right. Joel, you've got your top 10 rankings already out for the Farmers Insurance Open at ProGolfWeekly.com. And also, you're 3 up, 3 down for the Career Builders. So that 3 up, 3 down, what does that come out like every Monday or something like that?
Yeah, either late Sunday or early Monday. It kind of takes of that event who's going up and who's trending the other way.
And who's trending? Who's your top guy trending the other way in 3 up, 3 down?
Well, one of them was the short guys, because all 3 of our 2018 winners have been really tall people: Kazire, Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm. It hasn't been as friendly to those people. I'm trying to think of who else
the little
I even had
guys
on there. Yeah, those short guys.
No. So your discriminating article has 3 short guys that haven't been trending well.
I think you just listed short guys in general. Brian Harman will be mad.
Ooh, is he trending the wrong way?
Brian Harman is bucking the short guys trend.
All right.
I had Andrew Landry, Adam Hadwin, and Mr. Jarena Pillar. I had as my 3 up, 3 down. Phil, Patrick Reed, who I took way too early in this thing last week, and then the short guys.
Okay. All right. So, and then you've got something else coming out. What, in the next few hours or very soon, right? What do you got coming out?
Yeah, shortly. Just my extended storylines for this week's tournament.
All
more
right.
on Tiger and the like.
Sounds good.
Go
ahead.
I think we also got a number of some of the best social media for the tour. We've got information about Europe, the odds and all that. So there's a lot on there right now.
As always, at ProGolfWeekly.com, and Joel J. Cook to follow Joel on Twitter. And we'll see you again next Tuesday. Don't forget Tuesday, Joel. Every Tuesday.
Yep, Tuesday for Phoenix, one of the funnest tournaments of the year.
That's right. Looking forward to it. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week, Joel.
All right, thank you.
All right, you got it. That's Joel. And that will pretty much wrap it up, except we just want to remind everybody, Jeff, about, again, the First Look reports every Friday, PGAtour.com. And you've got your Around the Tours reports that are available every Tuesday on our website at primesportsnetwork.com. And you've got some storylines there. Anything that we didn't cover? Storylines?
Well, I think an overarching trend for last weekend was, and we touched on it, is that the European Ryder Cup team looked a lot better on Sunday than it did the Sunday previous. And maybe for those who are curious about how the broadcast on Thursday is going to look, because the Golf Channel technicians are still on strike. Now, that may change by the end of the week, but right now, as we speak on Tuesday afternoon, they are still on strike. However, the Torrey Pines tournament, the technicians are affiliated with CBS. They even produce the early round coverage. And so CBS and their relationship with their technicians union is in good stead. So we will see a broadcast without gaps and glitches. We all hope.
All right, and then also some of the other events, and the other big one to keep an eye on is the LPGA season. is underway in the Bahamas, correct?
That's correct. They're the last to get underway this year, which has not always been the case, but I think they tried to compact the early part of the schedule because there's a lot of gaps in the early LPGA schedule. So they start a little bit later. Brittany Lincecum is the defending champion of the Pure Silk Bahamas Classic. She beat Lexi Thompson in a playoff last year. And we didn't know at the time, but that was kind of a harbinger for the way Lexi Thompson's 2017 was going to go.
All right, Jeff. So the LPGA season's underway, the Dubai Desert Classic. Keep an eye on that as we opened the show and told you about all the top players that'll be participating in that event. And, of course, the Farmers Insurance Open. Phoenix next week. So for Joel Cook, I'm Greg DePalma. For Jeff Shane, I'm Greg DePalma. And don't forget also to go to ProGolfWeekly.com for all of your other golfing needs. You can also check out our shows that are available on demand at iTunes, YouTube, and, of course, our website at PrimeSportsNetwork.com. Follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. We'll see you next Tuesday and every Tuesday on our new day and time, 4 o'clock Eastern, here on the Prime Sports Radio Network. Prime Sports Golf. We'll see you next time.